Good evening, everyone who's joining me live. To the rewatch crew, thank you very much for joining as well. Guys, this is the third part in a series where we are listening to a recording that the police did of these two individuals, Chris and Deb Sterns. They're the parents of Stephan Sterns, who is accused of murdering this little one, 13-year-old Madeline Soto. Last seen February 25th at night. It's assumed that she died on the 26th. I know that we all know the story, so I don't want to belabor this. This is the third part. If you haven't watched the first two, I invite you to go back and do that, or hang out on the live stream. We like to have you here. But before we dive in earnest, I just want to do a couple items of housekeeping. Number one, remember that not this coming weekend, but the following weekend, I am going to be in London at CrimeCon UK. If you are planning on being there and you haven't bought your tickets, please use Fish at checkout to save yourself 10%. If you are going to be in London, hey, do me a favor and tell me. Just put it in the comments. Remember, always put a GF in front of it so I can see it. But yeah, if you're going to be there, I'd love to see you. Number two, if you have not already done so, I invite you to subscribe to Crime Cod. See what I did there? Crime Cod is my almost daily newsletter where I send you a whole bunch of stuff that's happening in the world of true crime. If you want to see what the newsletter is all about, you can check out what it looks like. It's just a newsletter, and I am grateful for the about 400 of you that have subscribed so far. It's really easy to unsubscribe, so just do that if you are up to it. Also, while I'm here on the website, remember that Madeline's case page is chock full of so much information. And man, my camera is doing the thing again where my lips are not synced with the sound. Let me fix this real quick. I thought I had this fixed. Thought I had it nipped in the bud. Okay, so remember that Madeline's case page is just chock full of information. All the videos I've done, there are audio recordings. There's so many case documents. Look at that. There are photos, crime scene photos, photos of Sterns, the cars, the everything. So my website is gavinfish.com. There's a link to this page in the description below. It's very easy to find, and I invite you to check that out. I want to thank my patrons who make it possible for me to do this work that I do here on YouTube. It is my dream, as you guys know, to be a full-time YouTuber. I'm not quite there yet, but man, the patrons make it possible for me to continue to do this. And one of the benefits that I give them is full and unfettered access to all the documents, all the everything on my website. You don't have to be a patron, obviously, to check out the website, but a lot of that stuff is just for my patrons. Okay, so that is the housekeeping. We're going to go ahead and jump in to this recording that we've been listening to. We're an hour and 2 minutes into it. I've backed it up just a couple seconds from where we left off. Where we left off was Chris describing kind of some of the behavior that had been happening in the previous days, and Deb jumps in with a little bit of a doozy. So I've backed it up so we can hear what Deb says, and then we're going to go ahead and push on through here. If you put GF in your comment, I will definitely see it. I would love to know if you're going to be in London, but also if you have anything that you would want me to read while we are listening to this, please go ahead and put GF in your comment, okay? And with that, here we go.
She told Maddie to go sleep with Stephan in her room. And
in her room or his room?
And when
you know, hang on just one second. This feels like it is the wrong version of the recording. Like it's not loud enough. I did one where it was louder. Give me just 1 second here, guys. Yeah, let's... just a second. I think I've got one that's louder, and I don't want to make you guys, turn up all your volume and then only for me to like jump in with a comment and scare you half to death. Let's just... There we are. Okay. I think this is the louder one. Let me get it up to about where it's supposed to be, which is about 102.04. All right, here we go.
It was in Maddie's room.
Yeah, okay. So this is the one that's a little bit louder. Sorry about the technical difficulties there, guys. This one you'll be able to hear better.
To sleep. That she woke up with a headache, and she told Maddie, and she told us, she told Maddie to go sleep with Stephan in her room. And
in her room or his room?
And when
his room. Okay.
He was sleeping in Maddie's room, and she sent him. She specifically said, because she told us, she says, I told her to go sleep with Stephan. And I was like the antenna popped up, and I said, what a stupid thing to do. Why would you do that? You've got plenty of room on your bed. Why would you send him?
What a stupid thing to do, especially since I've created a monster. I've raised an absolute monster here. Don't send your child to lay in the same bed as him. That was a stupid thing to do.
Send Maddie in there to go on a single bed with Stephan. It didn't make sense to me.
Do you know if they've ever talked about that in the past, that they would allow Maddie and Stephan to sleep in?
Melanie, this is a good question here real quick. Does mom think that room 4 was Maddie's? No, I don't think so, because in room 4, which you can see over on the website, let me see if I can easily find this real quick. Yeah, in room 4, the bed looks like this. It's a big, whatever that size is, queen size probably, right? And then Maddie's room was really just a little spot off of the living room, which, if I remember, I'm trying to find it. It was a little single size bed. I'll have to, yeah, here it is. So Maddie's room just has this little bed. I think that's the right room. I'm pretty certain that it is. Yeah. It was behind like this little partition, and it just has a single bed. So when, where did your comment go? Does Maddie's mom think that room 4 was Maddie's, or does Stephan's mom think that room 4 was Maddie's? No, I don't think so. She is saying that Jen sent Stephan to sleep with Maddie in her little single bed. That's what it appears to me.
The same room together, or the three of them sleep in the same bed?
Heard of that. That was the first time I'd heard that. But when she started talking about Maddie coming and sleeping with them at night, climbing in bed with them at night, and then Maddie told me, that's where she told me, she says, yeah, I was sleeping with mom and dad, and I rolled over, and I ended up with my leg over Stephan's leg, and she giggled about it, and I was like going, that was the second time. I said, and I told Jen, I said, listen, she's getting too old to do this. She's too old to share a bed with you. Don't do it anymore. I said, if you have to lock your bedroom door so she can't come in when you guys are asleep, then you need to do that. I said, I can understand a toddler. I can understand it up to about 5 years old. But after that, I mean...
Of course, there's no way that Stephan Sterns was going to lock his door and not allow Maddie in there. We know what he was doing in there. That was all his idea. And Jen's probably. I think it's probably Jen's too. This is crazy that she thinks that she can just tell her son to lock his door and he's not going to act on the urges that he obviously has.
This is ridiculous. So I was very upset about that, and that's one of the other reasons we wanted him home. I just wanted him out of that environment.
I want to go back to the medication that Stephan. So Stephan on Saturday asked you if you had any of medicine to calm his anxiety.
Right.
Did he have prescription medication that just wasn't filled, or?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he didn't have any medicine to take to Kissimmee?
No, not that we're aware of. And one of the things I was pressing hard with Stephan when he left Disney, I said, talk to Human Resources to get your insurance coverage after you leave, because you need it for prescriptions. And so up until 2 weeks ago, I'm assuming he had enough medication to get him through, but he needed some medication, so we're trying to get him back on insurance, which I did. And then there was a waiting period of a few days that we were supposed to call in and then arrange to get his prescription filled. He contacted the doctor, supposedly, because I told him to, and there would have been a prescription waiting for him, but it never got filled.
Guys, am I just so off on this that it's just strange to me that they would put their 37-year-old son on their own insurance? Like, am I being unfair here? I'm just trying to see if, like, because man, the way that Stephan was raised, it just feels wrong on so many levels, right? But 37 years old, putting him on your insurance or paying for his insurance. I mean, at some point, somebody's got to like stand on their own 2 feet, right? Unless really Stephan had some mental illness where he couldn't. Like maybe that's where I'm being unfair in this whole thing. But it just really, really boggles the mind that they behave this way with their grown son. This man's 37.
Gotcha. Okay.
When did he start taking prescription medication? Do you remember?
He started taking Adderall when he was a child. I mean, he has a TBI, and so he was on an IEP through school, individual education program. He went to special classes. He was hit by a truck when he was 8, hit in the back of the head with the bumper, run over his torso, and then the guy heard everybody screaming, put the car in drive and drove back over him, got him in the front of the head. And then, so he...
Well, how long has he been seeing the psychiatrist,
The
psychologist?
counselor there,
Yeah, counselor.
about 4 years.
So she was prescribing medications for him at least 4 or 5 years ago, whenever he started going to counseling.
So when you last saw him on Saturday and he's having this episode, the next time you see him is Tuesday night, going into Wednesday?
Wednesday morning, 2:15.
Early in the morning.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Change in his demeanor, I'm assuming, was different?
Just very stoic, no emotions. Again, I'm attributing to maybe medication he's taking and the fact that...
Where would he get that medication? From Jen, if he was going to take it?
Yeah, that
Okay, let's talk about this TBI since they just talked about it there and Joanna Kate brings it up. Okay, so he has a traumatic brain injury. He's 8 years old. He got run over by a car. I get it. But at the same time, like, why was he just seeing a counselor for the last 4 years? Like, he was on an IEP in school. He obviously was slow, needed the extra help, right? And that's all fine and good. That's all fine and good. I think maybe I'm just going a little overboard. Maybe I need to back up a little bit and think about, like, is it possible that at 37 years old, he's like the equivalent of maybe a 14 or a 15-year-old? And if so, then why is he out living an hour away? Why isn't he a little, maybe even more cared for? Because, I have family members and friends who have children or they have siblings that have mental health issues and, developmental issues is probably the better way to say it, mental development issues. And they're unable to live on their own. And so they're treated different ways, right? Whatever that person needs. But I'm aware of a man who's basically my age now who is living in a group home with other people like him, sees his parents on the weekends and, when they go out to dinner and stuff like that. But he has the illusion of independence while not having actual independence because he's not capable of doing that. Is Stephan there? or is he close to that? I mean, it just seems so strange. I mean, and we've listened to him and seen him speak to the media and to police. So I feel like he is, while he had that brain injury, I feel like he has moved past that and should be able to care for himself. I don't know. I'm waffling back and forth. Sorry about that, guys. Let's keep going.
And said, "Oh, don't worry about it. I have some meds here he could use."
And then the fact that we're now looking at early Wednesday morning, now going back to 5 o'clock, well, actually even sooner than that, since he knew the true events. So from that Monday afternoon or sometime Monday all the way to Wednesday early morning, I don't know how much sleep he's had. I know he's been under a lot of pressure, obviously, from questioning and interviews and what have you. So I didn't expect to see much of him, much other than just being somewhat stoic, kind of zombie, out of it. That's when when I left him in his room, he was sitting in a chair. And matter of fact, I remember hearing a comment with Jen when I was talking to him. They were driving over to the hotel. She's yelling at him to wake up because he was sleeping in the car. And when I left him in this room, sitting in that chair, he looked like a guy that was going to pass out. And to hear that he drove down to Northport and back shocks the shit out of me. Unbelievable. So, the guy was like out of it. And where he came up with all that energy to do that. And then when he comes back to the hotel room, he's got an energy drink, and then he immediately crawls into bed, and he is dead to the world. You can't wake him up. And it's like, all these hours and everything else finally caught up to him, but there was no waking him up. He was passed out.
Okay. Jeremy?
I seriously don't know what he would have done if he'd had access to the house. But what he didn't realize is that when Chris leaves, this house gets locked up like Fort Worth, like Fort Knox, whatever it is. But because I never lock that door because it's a pain in the butt to get it up into the.
Yeah, I don't know that Fort Worth really locks itself up, but Fort Knox definitely does. That was funny.
Security position, and Elliot dislocated my thumb, so not one of these dogs are ripped a tendon, so I'm right-handed, so it's even harder, but I did do that because, I don't know.
I do want to touch that. When Northport was here, apparently...
Hey, that's a great comment, Soneth, the Galactic Ninja Dog. Thank you for illuminating us on that. I appreciate that.
Apparently, they were given a computer?
I gave him a computer.
Okay.
Yeah. Because there was a desktop computer sitting here, tower. And I told Alex, I said, hey, it's got a tower unit here, desktop. I said, you guys want it? And they said, yeah, we'll probably do that. And so, again, I reminded Northport Police that it was here, so I gave it to them.
Okay.
Do you know what Stephan's dominant hand is?
What is what?
Dominant hand?
Right.
Is right. A couple questions. I know you mentioned part of his childhood and having that traumatic car crash. What else was his childhood like? Did he have a pretty normal childhood? Did he have siblings? Only child?
Well, he has an older brother that was in the Navy, but
they're 11 years apart, so it's basically like having raised two single children.
Okay.
Because of the age separation, what have you. I mean, his older brother, they weren't very close because of the age difference. So his older brother was never around that much.
You know what I find interesting about that whole thing? Now, of course, we don't have 2 children. We have 5 children, but between number 3 and number 4 is almost 10 years. So I understand the gap, right? And but what I don't understand is children still not being close. Like when we had our 4th, who was our second son, the older 3 were so in love with him. So in love with him. And now that we even have a daughter who is married and living in another state, it's not uncommon for us to hear her and our younger children talking. They're Marco Polo or whatever, right? So, like, I don't understand, even if they are 11 years apart, there would be some kind of familial closeness, you know what I mean? But it seems like in this case, there isn't a closeness between Stephan and his older brother. Oh, and Gina, welcome. Came over from Stephanie Harlow. Thanks for coming.
Joined the Navy right out of high school. He he and a few of his friends, and they've done wonderful with their lives. But yeah, no, he loved animals. Always picking stuff up and bringing it home. Would not do a single chore around the farm when we had the farm.
Is he a clean
What?
type person, or
No, Jesus God, no, he's lived in a
Did he use the C word? Clean? No. Always a challenge to get him to pick up his room. Mm-hmm. Always.
I was going to surprise him and put a hazmat sticker across his door. Because I opened it and looked at it and shut the door again and said, "Not going in there." So then I offered to help him clean his room. I said, "Look, it's hard when it's that bad to even know where to start." I said, "I will help you."
We tried to encourage him for sports. He played baseball, like
he ran track.
But he seemed fine as a kid growing up, and I don't know, maybe later this brain injury started.
He did not have very close friends. He had a couple of close friends and some acquaintances, but those were the only ones. And he took Shotokan karate with Brian.
I took Shotokan karate.
They got
with
a brown belt.
It was fun.
How were his emotions as a kid?
Volatile, but also, even in kindergarten, before the accident, he didn't participate with the other kids a lot. He would rather go and make up his own game and do his own thing than that. He has a very high IQ. He's very intelligent, and I think that I was in college at the time too, trying to finish my degree, and I had all my books, oceanography and stuff like that, and he was interested. And
okay, so she just described Stephan as, in his childhood as volatile, very intelligent, high IQ. So his IEP probably was more about behavior. Either that or it was a gifted IEP, right? In Pennsylvania, we call those the GIEP. They are individualized education plans for gifted children. So I'm not sure if Stephan was in what we would traditionally call an IEP program, where he needed the extra help, because she's describing him as a very high IQ, very intelligent, but volatile child. So it could be that he needed the extra help, or he needed the behavioral help, or he was gifted in some way. So Stephan has the ability to, if we take Deb at her word here, that Stephan has above average intelligence, then he is able to reason, right? He's able to reason. He can logic things out. I know I just used a noun as a verb, but you guys know what I'm talking about, right? He can figure things out. Is it that he is just a sociopath or a psychopath and unable to feel traditional human emotion, maybe? I kind of feel for these parents, man. Like, I know it's a cliche, but there's no manual for raising kids, and some of us are really good at it, and some of us really suck at it. I have to say, like, being my own worst critic sometimes, I think that I am not a naturally good parent, but I married a very, very naturally good parent, and so I've been trained along the way. But it looks to me like they've been given very difficult child and just sucked at parenting him. And I don't know, if he's very difficult, then I guess you can't expect somebody to know how to do it. I'm not like, I still think they're responsible. Ultimately, Stephan's responsible. I think they created this monster, but and ultimately this little girl was murdered after years of the most deviant abuse that can be imagined by anyone. So I'm not forgiving anybody for this. I'm I'm just saying it's probably pretty difficult.
When he was little, he was looking at my college textbooks, and I taught him to read. And he was reading at probably a 5th or 6th grade level when he went into 1st grade.
Okay.
He has a marvelous vocabulary. He has a great mind for history. If something interests him, he goes all in to research it. So
Well, if he's passionate about something, he will
Put the effort
focus.
he becomes an expert
he got
real
him.
quick.
Became passionate about whiskeys. Ask him anything about whiskeys. Ask him anything about teas. I said, Steph, go to the liquor store, and if you got this much knowledge, put it to use. Then you get involved in these games and what have you. But boy, if he got focused on something, laser focus, and that really at an early age, because we came down from Georgia to Disney World, and he got the key to the liquor bar,
Mini bar.
and he stayed there focused until he got that key and unlocked it at 3 years old. I mean, he was like that laser focused.
He didn't want liquor, he wanted candy.
Yeah. But he was
The expensive candy that's in those.
He was very, very vocal with us that he wanted more candy because we bribed him with candy all the way down on the plane. We were waiting for the car to come to get the car seat put in, jump seat for him. And I'm gonna let you tell it because I started laughing.
So we're in the car. We're on the way to this dinner, and he's in the back seat wearing a sailor suit. And I want
cute.
candy. No, Stephan, I'm looking at the rearview. No, Stephan, you can't. We're on our way to dinner. Don't want to spoil dinner. I want candy. No, you can't have candy. And he goes, I looked in my rearview mirror, looked at her, and just started laughing. And I said, no candy. And so everybody's complimenting how cute he looks and what have you. So I got to tell you a cute story.
Okay, hang on. So Chris Stearns said in a separate interview that Deb did most of Stephan Sterns' homeschool work for him so that he could pass. Well, I don't know if that is an indication of like below average intelligence or below average focus. That's kind of where I'm wondering here. But thanks for that comment, Christine. I don't know. I don't know what to make of Stephan Sterns or of this couple. I'm having a real hard time. I am the waffler in chief on this channel, guys. Just so if you don't know that already, that is my position.
He had obsessed with stuff sometimes, but
And I am loud. When I'm frustrated, I yell. I don't scream. Somebody told us that I'm a screamer. I don't scream, I yell. If they want to hear a scream, I'll show them a scream. But,
she's Irish.
yes,
Do not upset the Irish.
I am Irish. I have an Irish temper. I go from 0 to below real quick. And I do yell. I do not beat. Do not abuse him physically, but I yelled. Most of the time I'd be yelling from one room to another, but...
Whoa. I don't want to pass that moment. She goes, I did not abuse him physically, but I yelled. The implication there that maybe she knows on some level that she abused him verbally, emotionally. I did not abuse him physically, but I yelled. That whole physically qualifier means that, or at least to me, would seem to indicate that she knows that she did abuse him in other ways, just not physically. Wow.
I yell.
A former DI in the Air Force.
Yeah.
And she tried that on me very early in our marriage, and I said, no, sorry, I'm not going to fall for that.
We made a pact when we got married, because we got married, we didn't know each other. We knew each other for 5 weeks on the phone. We met again at our 10-year high school reunion. Got married 6 weeks later. I was in California, he was in Georgia. Back then the rates changed at 8 o'clock my time, 11 o'clock his time, and he'd call me. So we did our courting on the phone, and he came, we got married, drove cross country in my 240Z packed to the gills.
240Z.
A lot of fun.
I fly out to California, she's got all these boxes piled up in the family room. I go, what's that? That's going with us. 240Z. I said, let me tell you what's going in there. cases of Coors, because you can get Coors west of the Rockies, or east of the Rockies, and my golf clubs. But these boxes are not going to fit in that
Thanks for that comment, Mooney. I was not aware of that.
240C. It's just you, me, the beer, and the golf clubs. That's it. And we drove across country in that thing.
Wow.
But anyway.
But
we digress.
Yeah,
So anyway.
Here we are talking about a Nissan 240Z, and they're in an interview because their, I guess, would-be granddaughter, right? I know that she wasn't their granddaughter, but like, has been murdered and abused, as Amy here says, for years, and they're sitting there bragging about a freaking sports car. That is so strange, man. And these cops are doing a good job. They're just letting these people talk. They're doing a great job.
he told me, he says, whatever you do to me, I'll go back to you. Because I slapped him once.
Mm-hmm.
He said, you want me to slap you back? I said, no. He said, then don't slap me. He said, so whatever you do to me, I'm going to do to you. So the next time I got mad, I dumped popcorn on his head.
Mm-hmm.
He picked up the bowl, some left, he dumped it on my head. I said, all right, I get it. I get it. I get it. And we have never, we don't fight like that anymore. We sit down and talk when we're calm enough to finally sit down and talk.
Right.
There's a lot of me going in my room and saying,
5 minutes later, it's over. And,
Yeah.
forgotten about it.
no, there's no grudges held. But with him,
Yeah, exactly.
it's you never know. It's like my mother. You never know when something's going to trigger him that reminds him of something he was mad at you before, and then he gets mad about that all over again.
Well,
She
that's
did
interesting,
too.
Ashley.
I don't see any reason to do that, but
Tell me about his relationships growing up as far as intimate. Do you guys know anything about those? Did he date much?
I know some. I know.
She would know more than me.
Okay, his first real love was Kendall, and that was in California. And that's
I bet Kendall
What age was that?
recognizes.
High school.
yeah,
High school?
Yeah.
early high school,
Die.
like freshman year.
Okay.
Yeah, 15, 16.
Yeah, and that was, we loved Kendall, and Kendall loved him, he loved her. That was the only reason he didn't want to leave California, was because Kendall was going to be there. And,
Were they the same age?
yes,
Yes.
yes.
And then when we came to Florida, there was this
Crazy girl.
other.
Let me pause this real quick. This is a great comment, guys, but I have something to say about it. Jackie says, how would any of us know our child was psychologically damaged to the point of sociopathy or what to do about it? It seems like the kind of thing that happens to other people. Yeah, we have a little experience in this as parents here, Jackie, though not like, I mean, there are other people that have experienced way more in these kinds of terms than we have. But I remember being concerned about one of our children being somewhere on the autistic spectrum. And it started out as almost a joke, like, this can't I mean, maybe he's just funny, because my older sister tells the story of telling my parents when I was like 5 or 6 years old, there's something wrong with this one. And like it's a big family joke now, right? That, I mean, maybe there was something wrong with me for all I know. Maybe I've just been high functioning this whole time, but I started to have those feelings about one of our children. And when that happened, when that was going on, we happened to have house guests that came out for Thanksgiving, and one of their children was on the autistic spectrum. And I just expressed this to my old dear friend, and he was like, okay, this is what you do, Gavin. And like, coming from experience, this is what you guys should do. And then we took their advice, and it turned out that no, he's fine. He's just a little quirky, right? But you know, how do any of us know if our children are having mental issues? Well, it's just a matter of actually, I mean, sometimes we can't know, right? Sometimes we can't. I have friends that had a son who was like president of his class, and a salutatorian, and a musician, and just just a really high achieving child. And it wasn't until he was about 20 or 21 years old he started to have mental health crises. And so I'm not saying that it's easy, but I'm saying that if you're paying attention and you have a support system around you, you can figure it out. I honestly think you can. That's a great comment, Jackie. I appreciate you putting it in there.
Relationships that were just short, nothing
long term.
Yeah, just cycled through a bunch of girls, and the guys he was hanging out with didn't approve of him because they just seemed like no motivation, no drive. I grew up with the, I grew up in Winter Park. I hung out with the elite people in Winter Park. The Showalters and the Manellos and what have you. I worked at the hardware store, Miller Hardware in Winter Park, and so, I had drive. I wanted to get ahead, and I associated with a better crowd of kids. He never did. I never approved of them. They were just lazy, looking for the next party, looking for the next hit of marijuana. But so there was a cycle of those people all the time. But nobody steady that they were aware of.
You could bargain with him. All of his friends were getting tattoos. Chase decided that they were all going to get branded with 521, their 521 club. In
KJ, yeah, you and I are on the same page, man. No sorrow at all for the little girl that was abused for years and ultimately murdered.
Windermere. And he has a brand on his side. They did it with coat hangers. And I said, if you promise not to get tattoos, then for your 18th birthday, I will take you to a tattoo parlor and I will get you something that's meaningful. You don't want Dice or Popeye or something stupid that you're going to wear when you're 70. I said, what do you want? He said, I want the coat of arms. I said, I will do that for you. But you let me pick the tattoo parlor because I want to make sure they're clean, they're reputable, and I will pay for it. And he did. And he didn't get any other tattoos beyond that. And it's on his right back shoulder. And I said, and don't put it someplace where it's obvious.
I know you said that
Mother of the
you
Year.
didn't necessarily approve of some of these friendships, and then you said he dated a crazy girl or one or two.
She was crazy.
Were there any inappropriate relationships with
Young?
females? Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
never.
Did you ever see a change in what he was attracted to?
No.
I'm glad they're asking
Well,
this
I
question.
didn't know what he was attracted to.
He was attracted to boobs.
Yeah, but I don't know what he was attracted to.
Big boobs.
There was I can't recall other than one or two girls at our house, but there were groups of people when that was there. But I don't even know who he dated and per se. I mean, there was one girl that was a steady for a while, but other than that, I don't know who he dated because he dated outside the house and they didn't come to our house.
He didn't date, he had hookups.
Well, whatever.
And the thing is that the girls initiated him. They were calling him all the time. He wasn't calling them.
Oh my goodness, she is the
And
worst.
His wingman, Chase, was laughing one day. He said, boy, I'm glad Stephan's my friend. I said, why? He says, because he attracts all the girls and I get the ones he doesn't want.
What's Chase's last name?
Leonard.
Leonard?
Leonard.
Do you ask-
Leonard.
Leonard. Okay.
Leonard. Leonard.
He live around here, or
Oh, he lives. I don't know where he lives, but he
He
Lives
was
in Windermere.
Windermere.
Oh, okay.
Or
was living in
Orlando.
Windermere.
He called into that awful website, Gray Hughes Investigations.
He called
on
into it?
YouTube. He called into it. People are calling into it, saying stuff about him I've never heard, never witnessed, never known, and I am being flayed, because, as I said, I'm a yeller, but I never did anything bad to that kid. Nothing bad to any of them except to save them.
We touched
Wow, just Mom of the Year is all.
on Stephan and Jen's relationship.
Yep.
Tell us about Stephan and Maddie's relationship.
Maddie called him Dad. The last time that they were here, Stephan was sitting in this chair. Jen was here. Maddie was on that side, and she was leaning over with her arm around Stephan's shoulders and petting him with her hand, you know, because she was getting ready to go to sleep. So she came in to get her hugs and kisses goodnight from everybody. I mean, he didn't really interact with her.
In front of you guys.
Right.
Right.
Did she act that way towards Jen too? That same time?
She came and got a hug and kiss from Jen too.
Okay.
She even gave, when I came into bed, she gave me a hug goodnight too. That was it.
Did you see any changes in Maddie over the years in her personality?
No, we were talking about that the other night. It's like there was nothing visible, noticeable about it, change in her attitude, demeanor, what have you. And again, we hadn't seen Maddie since maybe early 23.
Mm-hmm.
I think at the same time Jen got her car. They came down for a night. Didn't notice anything out of the ordinary. Seemed like all the experiences that we had observed in the past. You know, happy kid, playing with the dogs, and either watching TV in there, going to bed, or floating around in here.
Did you know her to be on prescription medication?
No, I didn't know. No, not at that time. She was just starting it. That was something that was worrying Jen a lot. She was just starting to show the bipolar, and they thought that was why she was becoming so combative with Jen.
I know you touched on it earlier, but you said Stephan didn't have that, to your knowledge, Stephan didn't have access to your storage unit.
No.
To my what?
To your knowledge.
No, to my storage unit. No.
Who all has access to it? Just you.
Just me.
I don't
Okay.
even have a key to it.
And when I ask access, is it a code to get into the secured gate and then a padlock?
Yes.
Okay. And only you have those codes.
I have the code. It's in my phone as a contact record.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as I know, he didn't have that code. Now I am missing a key and have been missing the second key for over a year. So when they first started telling me about he came down to access the unit, I started thinking, well, that explains where the other key is then. But I could have lost it, but I have no idea where the key is. And the only way to know whether or not anybody else accessed that is if the storage unit printed out it, and because I don't access it that often.
So I was here the morning that the storage unit was searched. Is there anything of like tremendous value in there? I know there's a bunch of bins, and I see a few suitcases and stuff like that.
Yeah, just overflow from the garage.
Some Christmas
I was going to go over and look to see if anything had been moved, because I couldn't imagine Stephan going in there. There should have been a bunch of dog crates piled up, and it's packed, other than just a small section between the bulk stuff and the racks that I have there where I have access to.
On the right.
He did have some boxes of his stuff, but
Yes, but it's way so
stuff.
far back that he would have to empty the whole storage unit out to get it.
Okay.
Back in the left-hand corner. I said, well, that's too much work. He wouldn't be willing to do that much work. Has a W in the word, he wouldn't do it.
Did you guys ever witness or hear him looking up inappropriate stuff on the internet?
I have no idea, because we never had access to his rooms.
He didn't use our computers. He had his own.
Obviously, his room is over here.
That
Do you
one.
mind if we look?
Yeah, you can look. It's a
for it.
mess.
Is it the same way it was, pretty much?
No, we started cleaning it out
Cleaning.
because it's just he's existed in there. We haven't touched that room. At this point, he said, "Well, there's no way in hell he's ever coming back here. We're just going to gain access back to this room
We
and
gave
claim it as ours."
the other police complete access to it before we touched anything.
Okay.
And the stuff that I had thrown away, the trash off of his big table, I had left there in a bag, and I said, this is all I have done at this point, and if you want to go through the bag, you do it, you know.
So we're just getting rid of clothes and then trash that's in there, and then, like I said, it's going to take a while for us just to get in there and sort it out and figure out if there's anything of value that could be sold, and so, but it's pretty much the same mess that he left it in.
Okay.
You guys, he talks
That's all I
about
have.
stuff in his
I got-
room in the emails that he sent between him and his dad, and his mom would chime in. But, you know, he was like very particular about things like, you know, these kinds of things you can try to sell, and here's a buyer for them. And those things have value, but I want to hang on to them. There's a lot of that in those conversations. So I had always imagined that his room was spotless because it seemed like he knew where everything was. Of course, there's a family legend of my dad going and cleaning my grandpa's shop once, and my grandpa being upset for years because he could never find anything. So maybe it's just he knew his mess really, really well. But I remember being shocked when I saw the pictures of his room number 4. Right, if we can go back over to the website here real quick, and find. Sorry, I should have had this ready. Yeah, so if we look in like room 4 here, it's not like terrible, but it's also pretty messy. This is his Sig Sauer. I'll get through this part here real quick because the close-ups aren't really what I want to. Yeah, I mean, it is a pretty messy room. The bed is unmade and stuff like that. And this, actually, I think this one might be Jen's room now. Anyway, they were not neat people for sure, and I was surprised based on the stuff that I had read in those interviews. All right, let's hop back in here. Got about 15 minutes left.
I got the floor swept a little bit.
You mind if we take a picture of it when we go?
Oh, yeah, if you want to, go ahead.
Do you mind if I take a picture of your notepad? Of your
Well,
notes?
I'll just give you the notes.
Do you have more?
No.
You want another copy of them? In case somebody else wants to know the same information.
Oh, I can go do that. Okay to do that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I have the original pictures of the room before I touched it, if you want to see those, or I can send you copies of it.
Yeah, if you don't mind, let me give you my card. There's my card. If you want to email them to me, that'll probably be the easiest.
I took pictures because it was so disgusting. It'll take a while. I've got a week's worth of pictures on.
Yeah, no worries.
I do a lot of pictures. Do either of you like Trump?
I'd rather hold my opinion to myself, especially being on the record.
I'm not going to say it on the record. I was just going to show you something cute.
Can I make a personal observation?
Absolutely.
There you go.
Thank you.
What are you showing me?
That is funny.
Oh, so when this thing came down Wednesday afternoon, we meet with the detectives and then personal escort and what have you, and then everything goes dark at 4 o'clock. 4:04, I get a text message. Finally, I get a text message from Jen trying to figure out what the F is going on.
I'll come back to this one. Okay, see you soon.
And she texted me and said, get Stephan a lawyer now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Why? And then she says, well, they have found these images on Stephan's phone that there's sex acts between Maddie and Stephan. And I go, I like disbelief and go, okay. And I asked her how long. She said 2 years. And she said something to the effect, like he needs a lawyer up. And I thought, that was just really weird. And so a few hours later, she finally comes out of the I'm communicating with her before this, and I said, I got to go get something to eat, and got to use the restroom. The station's locked up. I can't get in. And she said, well, they said, go up to a Wawa or something. I said, okay. And the next thing you know, no, they're going to let me out and go to get something to eat. So she comes out, and demeanor is just matter-of-factly, everything's fine. And we get in the car, and we're talking, and we go to get something to eat. And I kept thinking, this is a woman who just learned that her child had been sexually abused for the last 2 years, and she's acting towards me like nothing's happened. And it's like another day, another evening out, we're just spending time together.
Yeah, that's weird.
That entire time. And then I take her back to the police station, and then...
She's not surprised, guys. That's the thing. That's what's weird about it, is that she's not surprised that this has been happening to her daughter for years. She's either not surprised because she knows it, or she is in denial. And I lean toward the former, right? That she already knows what's going on because she is complicit in offering up her daughter to Stephan. That's what I think happened. It's and Chris Sterns here is recognizing that too.
And then she's done with her interview. The detectives come out and say, hey, we want to talk with you. I said, fine, there's somebody going to have a conversation with me. Arrange for her to get in the car to stay with Sailor. And I go up and have my conversation with Alex, and then I go back to the car, and I'm going to take her back home because she needs a ride home. And even her demeanor of coming out with the detectives is just like, everything's fine. And
did she act like that during previous contacts with you guys, whether it be last month, last year? Was it the same kind of interaction?
Yeah. If anything, this is the most interaction I've ever had with her. Because when she came here, I never really interacted with her unless we're having a meal together. And so we're leaving, and I'm taking her home. And I kept thinking as we're talking, I'm expecting her to just blow up and start beating the shit out of me, or scratching me, or chewing my ass out. But no, none of that. I kept waiting for something to explode. And matter of fact, as we're leaving, before we went downstairs to the lobby, Stephan handed me his pocket knife and said, you better hang on to this. That's okay. And then I threw it into the console of my car as I'm leaving. I look down and I see this knife, and I go, call Alex and say, hey, Stephan gave me his knife that's got it in the console. Maybe you should have it. So I swung back around and took it to her, and I didn't get any questioning from her. What are you doing that for? I kind of expected that, but I didn't. Ran to the piece of paper, gave it to Alex, gave him a statement, and we left. Took her back, and everything, she's acting just too normal. It doesn't seem, it's acting abnormal because she shouldn't be that way. Her demeanor should be entirely different. And then she goes on to tell me that Stephan was sexually frustrated because she and Stephan were not having sex. Her medication changed. She didn't have any interest in sex, and so there was no sexual engagement between the two of them. And I said, well, this is really unusual conversation to hear this from a mother that, if you ask anybody else, what would your reaction to be? I said, I would be batshit crazy beating somebody up. And that was not the case. And then I saw the interview. And I said, I keep thinking, if I saw that interview Tuesday and they called me, I said, no effing way would I have gone to Orlando. Because I would have seen for myself, like everybody else did on YouTube, they weren't buying the story. And what I saw Stephan doing was a repeat of what he had talked to me about.
Interesting. So here he is talking about the TV interview. I believe that's what he's talking about. And he's sitting there going, no, nobody's buying what they're saying here. And Stephan is doing exactly what he did with me, which put my antenna up. So yeah, Let me get back to this comment here. Let's see, where was it? Oh, yeah. Kat says, these two parents sitting here with the police calmly, not a crying mess, scared out of your mind, and they're commenting on Jen's behavior. Yeah, so I know exactly what you're saying there, Kat. I just think that they are the co-doctors Frankenstein in this story. They have created this monster over the course of 37 years and had lost control of him, had kowtowed to him, had bent to his demands. And I think that they are relieved that he is in prison. And I think they're hopeful that he will be there for the rest of his days because the monster shouldn't be loose. I think that's what's happening there. Now, also, yeah, I take your point on the second part of your sentence, and they're commenting on Jen's behavior. Yeah, there is a touch of irony there for sure, but I think that is what's happening. They're just again, Dr. Frankenstein, just relieved that their son is now finally been caught. I would like it more if they were a little bit sad about the fact that their son had been abusing Madeline Soto for 5 years, since she was 8 at least, that we know of, and that he murdered her. But yeah, they don't appear to be caring too much about that.
On Monday evening.
Video
And,
pictures.
Thank you.
I was just, I couldn't, her mannerisms were exactly what I saw and observed Wednesday evening, you know, if not even better, you know. I was just in disbelief as to how she spoke and how she handled herself at the point when the bird came into the scene and was squawking or doing whatever, and everybody paused and you waited, and then it stopped, and then she smiled, and I said, boy, that's an unusual response to smile about this bird. And I said, I hope the beater was just way off. But then, you know, it carried forward into Wednesday. I don't think I would have come up, but then I wouldn't have learned some other things about her had I not come. But it's like, why was I brought to Orlando? Unless to get me out of the house.
Which left me here alone.
So I have no idea, but
you watched his interview that he gave to the news, right?
Yeah.
Because you said that was roughly what he told you on the phone.
Yeah.
What was his reaction like to you? Did it seem genuine? Did it seem...
You know, it was very difficult to tell when he was... I could never tell if he was lying to me.
Hey, let me address this comment real quick as we're listening. So I also think that Deb believes it, but she also appears to be acting like she wants everybody to know that Jen was part of it. So she's defending her son to the extent that he wasn't the only one. Now, I'm not, first off, I think that Jen was part of it. I don't think she's wrong. But it does show this kind of weird defense mechanism that Deb appears to have, that her little baby boy Frankenstein is perfect in every way, and if the world just understood him, we wouldn't have gotten here. There is that, right? That's a good comment. Thank you.
Or not. I mean, it was very difficult. I just, at one point, I just said, you know what? If his lips are moving, he's lying, and I'll never get the truth out of him, and there's no way of breaking him. You know, we're missing a Rolex. You know, where did that go?
My father's Rolex.
So, you know, he would never fess up to that. And again, where did all this money come from? Where's his Omega watch? You know, so I'm assuming where all this money was coming from is that maybe he sold off his Omega and maybe sold off the Rolex, which I find shocking. He would sell that Rolex first before he would sell his Omega, because that's how much he cherished that watch. He inherited some money and immediately went out and spent $7,000 on a watch like he really needed to. You know, so I have no idea where that was. But he was very impulsive. He couldn't wait. You know, if he wanted something somehow, some way, he got it.
Do you guys have ties to St. Cloud?
No.
We did what?
St. Cloud. No,
St.
we
Cloud.
have no ties to St.
No
Cloud.
ties to St. Cloud.
Yeah.
Any reason why he would have went there?
I have no idea. Other than the fact that maybe he's just trying to get as far away as possible. I mean, I have no idea. I mean, based on what I've seen on TV, I can see where the flat occurred and where he had to drive, I guess, 2 miles back to the hard surface. And maybe something happened. He drove that rubber right off that wheel. Have no idea why he was down there.
Obviously, not an easy question. Do you think he was capable of doing what he did?
I would, if you had asked me Sunday, I would have said no. Never in a million years. He loved that child that was supposed to be his stepdaughter if they stayed together. He helped raise her. He was not allowed to discipline her. Maddie did that. Jen did that. But he acted as a peacekeeper. But no. And to kill her? No. I think if I had to put forward a guess, I would think that it was accidental. I think that, I know it's stupid. Yes, I'm Irish, and yes, I've had dreams that are precognition. Yes, they come true, but I did have a dream, and in that dream, they were in Stephan's room and in Maddie's room, unclothed. Jen came in to wake her up.
When did this dream happen?
Was confronted by the fact that they were together in a way they shouldn't have been, and I think a struggle ensued, and she either hit her head or broke her neck. So I don't think there was couldn't have been a gunshot because everybody would have heard it. I think stabbing, you'd have found blood. So that's the only thing I can think, and that then as she would have told Stephan, and in my dream it was.
So at this point, she thinks it's accidental.
This is all your fault.
Remember, this is March 6th, okay?
You caused this. This is all your fault. You have to fix it.
We think he's being the front person on this and falling on the sword, and Jen's definitely complicit in this in some way. That's what we think.
So then you believe that Jen would have prioritized your son more than her own daughter?
Yes.
Yeah.
Why?
Because she didn't have anybody else.
Oh, I think they made a pact.
I think they
And again,
decided who was going to
you look
do
at
what.
her hugging him and consoling him at that interview, knowing full well what the truth is. And I think Stephan's decided to be the fall guy in this because he's feeling remorse over the inappropriate relationship he had with Maddie, and that since if he's going to be discovered in this, that he's going to be the front guy in this. But she's just as culpable as he is in this.
The other thing is that as a mother, I have seen that child cry. You do not fake the sound in his voice, the clogged sinuses that he was dealing with. Mm-hmm. The man was sick. No. I don't know if she just feels vindicated that she took care of it. I don't know, but I know that he's the only one that's feeling any remorse or any sorrow for that child, and she is not.
I told Debbie when I left Tuesday night, early Wednesday morning, I said, do we really know our son? Because at that point, I didn't know what to question. But,
apparently not, from some of the stuff that's coming out of these calls into Gray Hughes.
But anyway.
I mean, stuff that one kid said that we were providing him with Hustler magazines. We've never had a Hustler magazine in our house. We don't have booze in our house unless it's for people to come to visit. We don't drink. We don't do drugs. Don't smoke cigarettes anymore. Quit those when I was before I got pregnant with him.
Yeah. Just a lot of it, connecting the dots after their visit, what have you, and then seeing that interview, I was like blown away by that interview. So,
I think people are making some pop up just to be sensational.
Yeah.
It's the internet. You gotta take it for what it's worth.
Hey, she's not wrong on a lot of that. Like, I try really hard not to be super sensational on things. we definitely discuss ideas and theories, but she's not wrong on that. People do say sensational things, especially when there's the incentive for clicks or for views. And I'm not immune to that. That is that's an incentive for any broadcaster, webcaster, live streamer, content creator, right? I'm not immune to that. I try to fight against it, but there's still even though it may be sensationalized, there's still truth being shared out there. I mean, we've got our hands on the documents. We've got our hands on their communications. We're listening to this recording. No, there was something weird going on in that house prior to all of this happening with Madeline. And let's not forget Madeline. She's our victim here. And it does seem like Marie says Mom wants him to plead insanity. Jackie says he was sad and devastated that he got caught. Mark says his mom is obviously tone deaf to Stephan's whining. Let's finish out the recording here. It's about 2 more minutes.
When do you think, well, I don't know if you can tell us or not. I see 3 milestones coming up that we have to prepare for the backlash. The autopsy, obviously the charges that come out afterwards, and then if the other shoe drops with Jen, and hopefully that happens where it diffuses some of this to where it needs to go as well.
Mm-hmm. I can answer one of those questions. The autopsy is done. The autopsy was done Saturday. But as for the other 2, we can't really.
The top of the heap.
I know you guys have to get your act together on that, because that obviously is very important to the case in getting all that put together.
You're not going to tell us how she died, are you?
Can't.
Or when?
Can't.
They can't do that. No, can't do that.
When everything comes to an ending,
we need a heads up,
will.
because we've already had people coming to the door with microphones and crap and vans out front, and I'm getting hate mail, hate texts, hate phone calls. People saying some pretty awful things to me about being a rotten mother.
By the way, nobody do that, okay? Nobody do that. I know that you guys that watch this would not do that. Don't do that.
And
what we've explained to others that we have interviewed, we can't tell you guys what to do. All that we can do is ask, is it if media contacts you or something like that, you don't want to contact them, direct them towards us. And then we will do, our department will handle the media stuff.
Northport's been great. They've actually stepped up their patrol units here. They know what we're up against, so they've been very helpful.
well, the Landrys were here, so they've been through this before in the last 2 years.
Yes, they have. Yes, they
Are
have.
they talking about the
Isn't that
laundries?
strange? Tiny little Northport where people go to die. This is God's waiting room, bunch of old farts
When
here.
she said
And,
Landry's, is she talking about Chris and Roberta Laundrie, as in Brian Laundrie's parents? Somebody help me out on that.
we have 2
And thank you for the super
murders.
chat, PJ.
Well, was it here?
It wasn't. No, it didn't happen here, but still,
Yeah.
they're tracing the parents to Northport. Well, the Landry kid came home and they helped him, so that's a little bit different.
Yeah.
Still,
They're talking about
I don't want
them.
to feel like I have to look over my shoulder all the time. I don't want to feel like I have a target on me. It's
Wow.
you have to have nails to get that out. You want me to get it out for you?
I got it.
Well, like I said, I really do appreciate you guys speaking with us. Since our conversations were recorded, you swear everything that you told us was true and accurate to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, that is the end of the recording. Oh my goodness. This is my first time hearing this, by the way. Did she say, yes, Gavin, they live 8 minutes from there. So did they talk? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Wow. All right. First, Let me just, there are several comments that I starred so I could come back to them. I wanted to thank Art, Built to Help, and PJ for your super chats. Thank you both for those. Thank you so much. And then I've got a couple of comments that I favorited here that I may have shown them, but I want to address them real quick. Amy asked, Gavin, do you think the reason police were asking about Maddie's menstrual cycle is that she missed it because she was pregnant? That is I think the number one theory that people have, that that is the reason for Stephan doing what he allegedly did. It's possible. It's also possible that it is not the case. I don't think that it matters. And I think sometimes we search for motive when sometimes it just doesn't matter. In fact, you know how like in crime procedurals and stuff like that, they look for means, opportunity, and motive. When I cover cases in court, motive hardly ever comes up. Ever. Like it does sometimes. In some cases it comes up, but not very often. It doesn't matter what the motive was if the evidence points in a certain direction, right? In fact, in the state of Pennsylvania, the juries are instructed that motive is not something that they can consider when rendering a verdict. So, and I don't know if that's the way in all cases. I don't remember. You guys know that I was on a jury for a double homicide many years ago. I don't remember if we were told that we had to consider that or not. But in PA, I know that that's one of those things where they're like, you may not consider motive. You just have to be judges of the facts. So I personally don't think that like if Stephan and Jen were in a relationship that I think they were in, which is one of mental illness and codependence and weirdness, if Madeline had gotten pregnant, I think they would have just handled it. I think they both would have. And Maddie, being a manipulated and abused little girl her whole life, would have gone along with it. So I don't think it's that strong a motive anyway. I think really probably what happened was there was a tussle or a fight and an accidental death. Of course, that still is murder one because of what he was doing to her. So that's my thought on that. Mandy's comment that I starred said, Gavin, what do you think of these people trying to diagnose Maddie with bipolar, saying she was having issues like her mother? Did they know Stephan was doing this to her at this time? They claim that they did not know. Yeah, I don't know. Let me just generally tell you what I think of these people. And I'm just going to like repeat. It's like a broken record around here. I think they are Doctors Frankenstein. They have created a monster, and they probably have some sort of regret that it's Maddie who absorbed the brunt of the blow from their monster. But now that he has been found out, he will be safely behind bars for the rest of his life, and I think they're relieved about that. That's what I think about them. Mandy clarifies, not meaning Stephan abusing Maddie at the time, but did his parents know there was a concern of abuse during this police discussion? Yeah, they knew during the discussion that there was that thing. Jackie of Almost All Trades, Gavin, people who lack empathy, sociopaths, overestimate how believable their lies are to others. Stephan fits the part, in my opinion. I agree. I mean, he was telling all those lies to his dad, and his dad was saying, no, like a 1 in a million event happened 3 times this day. Right? So he was probably very used to being lied to. He could spot it really quickly. Mia Spaghetti says, off the topic, sort of, the deal with the devil the detectives made didn't seem to yield much important info unless there's more we haven't heard. That was a big mistake. Man, I wish I could remember what we were talking about when you made this comment. I should have remembered that because I started the comment. I thought the detectives did a very good job. I really do. They gave them a few prompts, a couple questions, but let Chris and Deb just vomit everything that they wanted to say, and I think that was really well done. CSI Crowdsourced Illumination says, Gavin, have you heard anything regarding the torso his mom found in his room? What is it being used for? Yeah, the affidavits or the reports that came out said that it was a sex toy. That's what that was. Shu Thompsano. Number 4 wasn't really his room. Previously in this interview with his parents, Chris mentioned how he found out he was actually paying rent for the master's bedroom, even though Stephan claimed, and you went on. I don't think that's correct. I not only did Jen talk about Stephan living in number 4, but that's where all of his stuff was, including his Sig Sauer. So I think number 4 was his room. Amy McBride said, Gavin, why would she want to defend Stephan by getting him a lawyer when she found out he was essaying her daughter, WTF? Yeah, you're saying Jen. And Chris brought that up too. And I'm not, again, not coming to Chris's defense here. But yeah, that there's something off about that. It is an indication to me that she knew what was going on. She was complicit in what was going on. It was not surprising to her. It was not hurtful to her. It was not infuriating to her. She was part of the deal, and I hope that will mean that she is also going to have charges. We are going to talk about that a little bit tomorrow, guys. If you go to my channel, let me just bring this up over here. It looks, just so you guys can see what's going on tonight. We are on this website. Tomorrow and Thursday, we'll be talking about the immunity deal. We'll be going through some documents and some recordings there. And then on Friday, we're going to be talking about this case, which is just so sad. It's the Sandra Birchmore case. It is a young woman who was abused in the same way Maddie was from the time she was 15 years old by multiple police officers, and at least one of them is charged with her murder. So we're going to be going over that. Where were we? What? Yeah. Let's see if there's any. Yeah, one more. Joanna Kate says, Gavin, how do you react finding out that your son has been abusing a child for years? Their reaction is odd too. Yeah, and I don't know if it's that they knew what was going on, that they suspected what was going on, or they were just like, oh, I'm just so glad that he's in jail now. I don't know. And again, kind of. Thank you very much for watching this. I pushed the wrong button. Sorry about that. Where am I going? I'm going here. Then I'm going back here because we're wrapping up. Sorry about that. Guys, thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you for your thoughtful comments and your questions. Thank you very much for those super chats. Remember that I will be in London the weekend after next. And so I'm kind of loading up this week on content for you guys. And then Josie and I are headed off to London for CrimeCon UK. If you're going to be there, please stop in at Content Creators Row. I'll be there with my daughter and some of our closest true crime content friends. If you haven't bought tickets, you can save 10 little percentavos by using code FISH at checkout. Always remember the website where you can get all the docs, all the recordings, all the everything, photos at gavinfish.com. I invite you to subscribe to Crime Cod, my almost daily. It's basically when I feel like it. It's usually about 3 or 4 times a week that I send one out, and it's free, and you can unsubscribe anytime. And then please join us over in the fish tank. One last thing before I go. Have you guys noticed how awesome our mods are? Our mods are also our admins of the fish tank, and they do this for free. So if you go over to the support tab on my website, scroll down to this one that's right here in the middle. That is a great way to express your appreciation to Autumn and Jamie for moderating the channel and being admins of the fish tank. I deeply appreciate anybody who will support my mods. Autumn and Jamie are the best. With that, I will bid you adieu until tomorrow when we talk about this whole immunity deal with Jen. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. And yeah, I think that's it. Bid you adieu. See you tomorrow. Take care. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you liked what you saw, please consider subscribing. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below.